Hello, my name is Michael Douglas. I'm from GenieConnect. Welcome to our on-demand webinar, Living in a Multi-Screen World. This is a short webinar, and what I'm going to be talking about is really how the multiple devices that we all use and are all second nature to us affect our behavior, and particularly how we engage with the event technology that is more and more governing attendees' experiences around events. So I'm going to start off by having a little think about the sorts of devices that we are considering. Now, what I haven't done here is armed with the latest percentages and facts about penetration, but for the purposes of pretty much all of us when we're thinking about our event audiences, we can assume that everybody's using a computer, whether it be a laptop or a desktop. We can assume that nearly everybody, particularly in a B2B environment, is using a smartphone. And more, we can also make the assumption that pretty much half of our audience have access to a tablet. And as many of you involved with events will see, you can see that these are coming out more and more. The rule of thumb as we see it is that when people are standing up and walking around, then it's the smartphone, but as soon as they're sitting down, either in a session or having a sandwich or something like that, then out comes the iPad as the device of choice. So really, as we'll all be aware, these are devices that everybody is familiar with using in different ways and at different times. And the first thing I'm going to go through is having a little think about some of the real life and existing touch points that we can use to help us define how we should be engaging with people. So first of all, we can have a think about something that it seems everybody knows a great deal about, and that is good old Facebook. So we are all familiar with sitting at our desk or sitting at home and being able to engage with Facebook on our computer. We may well, if we are a tablet owner, also be very familiar with doing that, whether it's in our living rooms or on the sofa, etc. And most of us will also know that using our smartphone we'll be able to do the same thing. Now, the interesting thing about Facebook is you can get really the exact same result from any one of these devices, and that's kind of how you engage with it. You know that you go to any one of them, you can do that. But what you're really addressing, therefore, is your circumstances, your time, your place. And that's really what governs the device that you use it on. It's a very complete service. It's something that everybody understands and everybody uses. So this is very much the backdrop of the expectation that we have with our customers and our event attendees. Next up, have a little think about email. Once again, every single one of you will be up to their ears, no doubt, in emails on their computer where we will do a number of things with them. We'll check our email, we'll do replies, but we'll also be constructing long and detailed emails. We'll also be reading attachments, reading reports, looking at presentations, all sorts of things that are linked to the email. Now, if we start thinking about our tablets, then things change a little bit. We're not really falling over ourselves to write long emails on tablets. We're not really falling over ourselves to download great big attachments necessarily, although occasionally that might happen. But if we start thinking about our smartphone, then it's very different indeed. Most of us, very frequently, I'll even see a signature that says, "Excuse the brevity of this short response because I'm using my smartphone." It's a very different set of behaviors. We use it for the convenience, but we're actually not really interested in doing a great deal of writing or a great deal of reading of sort of documents or that kind of thing. So everybody's familiar with the different devices, but choose very different experiences on each. Now, the third one I wanted to talk to you about is really booking a vacation or a holiday. So take something like Expedia, or even just more widely. What are you doing when you're choosing where to go on holiday? You're researching lots of information. You may be making a booking that may be a substantial form to fill in. You may be going through a payment gateway. You may be consuming terms and conditions, all sorts of things. Similarly on the iPad, yes, absolutely, that stuff's all possible, but we're also turned off a little bit from some of those heavier bits. But then we start thinking about the smartphone, and really it's a very, very different experience indeed. In fact, so much so that other than than a little bit of research, you're probably just really using it once you're traveling. And I've got a couple of examples here. This is sort of interface we'll be familiar with. Lots of information, giving us lots of things to study. We're going to be comparing results, performing searches. All of these things really require a big screen. And we start thinking about the sorts of things that we'll do once we're on the move with our mobile phone, and it's a very different set of functions. So here's an example of your boarding pass, but it might be you've got your local restaurants, you might have loaded them up on your map on your phone, all this sort of thing. Very, very practical, all about being once you're on the move. So the reason I've chosen these three examples is because they do have quite a big similarity to a lot of the experiences that we think about when people are engaging with our events. In summary, we've got a planning phase where by and large there is a good deal of information to understand and get through. And we have a doing phase where we've got less information to get through, where we're actually really interested in a short list, a refined set of personalized options and experiences that really help us make the most out of it. And as the examples I've given you support, we really can see a real drift from one of these devices through to the other, which is something that is very much borne out in the research that we do here at GenieConnect. So, what does this mean for your events? Well, we can start thinking about the sorts of activities that attendees are going to be engaged with around your full event cycle. They may have found your event. They will, with any luck, have registered for it. They may have spent some time planning their time, planning meetings, researching exhibitors, finding out how to get there. They may also be compiling their own shortlist. They may have made appointments that they want to go and fulfill. They'll be making notes. They may be meeting people, exchanging contacts. They may well have a whole action list that they leave the event with to follow up. And in fact, we can look at these features and see that they actually fall into, on the continuum that I just described, different ends of it. Some of it is very much about digesting a great deal of info. It depends on the event, but that might be lots of exhibitors if it's an exhibition. It might be lots of networking opportunities if it's a conference, but nonetheless something that lends itself to digesting a lot of info. And on the other end of it, it may well be stuff that actually we want to use as a very much of a quick reference approach. So what's really at stake? Mobile solutions at events are ever more common, but we really firmly hold the belief that the impact it can have on the event is profound if you get it right, but can be very problematic if you don't. And one of the things that is frequently misunderstood, I think, is the propensity for people to sort of do all their planning through a mobile device. Obviously, any such product should have that facility, but if we really want to start maximizing the returns that our attendees and we get out of the solution, then we need to think a little bit more about when people do what where, because any measure of success really is not just the number of users, which or number of downloads, which with good reason many mobile event app implementations will look at that as a great measure of success. But the number of users that you have is usually down to your marketing, because people's download of it is ostensibly something that happens before they've used it. More telling, we believe, is actually how often they use it. And it's really a product of those two figures is really gives you the kind of value and the penetration. If somebody's using an event app once or twice in a day, then that is of substantial less value to them and you and your sponsors and exhibitors potentially than if they're using it 10 times in a day. And in fact, 10 times a day is a figure that we like to see. We think 10 times a day really shows that that on average people are getting something out of it. And so really fine-tuning the experience on all of these platforms is very, very important if we're going to think about really getting people to engage. It's so much better to show up at an event with something manageable for you to do than to do all your research while walking around using your mobile phone. So we're really looking to inspire our attendees and get the very most out of the solution for them and everything else. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is really thinking about some examples of the sorts of things that take place at events and how we might address them. So knowing the need at your events is absolutely crucial. And here's 3 examples. We may have, if we're an association, for example, we may have a great deal of learning opportunities in sessions and elsewhere that people are going to the event to make the most of. That's why they're invested their time and their money to come, and that's what they're looking to get out of it. We may have more of an exhibitions focus where we've got people who have taken time out of the office in order to go and research pieces of business, and they want to make the best use of their time by researching the right kind of exhibitors. And we may have a networking context where people are there, and one of the goals for their events is that they want to make as many connections or the right connections as they can and take away more business cards and have more business opportunity following the event. So we're going to take each one of these in turn and take a look at really the stuff I've been talking about and how that then takes a practical turn. So let's think about sessions and learning, for example. When we talk about complexity here, complexity is going to be multiple tracks to choose from, multiple areas of subject matter that people might want to pursue. They might be interested in researching speakers, the background of those speakers, and to understand how they're going to best place their time. There may well be quite a lot of supporting documentation. They may want to prepare their own notes to stimulate themselves before they go into the event, and they may also be linked to learning credits that they have reason to strategize about in terms of their own requirements with regards to qualifications, etc. So all of these things, very common on a sort of session-heavy event, and put simply, are not ideal to be done on a small screen while walking around the place. What we're really looking to do is to do that online and think about the mobile output. The output here is a personal agenda, a time plan, an understanding of what you're doing, reference to all the information that you've identified, and that's what is best on the mobile, and that's what means you're going to really get a lot out of that solution. Next up, networking and meetings. So this is the context where we've got somebody who's interested in making some good professional connections, and they don't want to just leave it to luck, which is so often the case when people go to networking. So being given the ability to search what may be a large number of attendees ahead of time to understand a bit about them. They may want to reach out to them in advance, send them messages. They may want to request meetings with them. They may want to prepare their own notes and maybe their own little hit list for their networking activity that they're going to pursue while they're at the event. Again, all of this starts with a large amount of information and is really distilled into a very, very effective mobile output. So, for example, here's my A-list of contacts that I'm looking to meet. I can see them very, very quickly. I may well have meetings in my diary. I may well have communications, two-way communications that I'm continuing on my phone. And all of these things work very, very well to give that sort of focused and effective experience for people looking to do that. And thirdly, thinking about exhibition and that kind of environment. A large exhibition, or even not a large exhibition, has a vast array of businesses to choose from. It's very unusual for an attendee to have a genuine interest in all of them, and part of the reason for going is discovery. So understanding what products, exhibitors, services are there ahead of time is a research job. Again, identifying a hot list of exhibitors that they want to see. They may be arranging meetings. They may be preparing questions. All of these things, once again, lend themselves to some good preparation, because what you get is the output is very much, these are the exhibitors that are important to me. These are where they are on the map. This is the route I can take around the map if I want to be efficient about it. I can see these are other exhibitors of the same kind of type, and I may even have appointments to fulfill. So great deal of focus once again with the output onto the mobile. Best of both worlds. So really wrapping that up, what we're really thinking about is the whole cycle. Not really for this webinar, but one of the key benefits for the organizer that falls out of any of this kind of thing is the learning that you have about your attendant and their behaviors. But if, as is too often the case, these things are done in isolation, that a user, for example, is looking at the website, doing some planning, and then it's a completely different experience on the mobile, then you're not getting the learning, you're not benefiting from the learning from both of those things. By joining up the experience, you're providing a far more effective event for the attendee, who really is taking their own experience from one thing to the next throughout the cycle. But more importantly, in many respects, you're actually completing the net, if you like, for you to catch all the information about your attendants and about their profile and about their interests, which helps you make better events and certainly deliver more personalized content to those attendees. Because at the end of all this, they've got their post-event actions. So that may have started online, they may have gone there, they may have used their tablets, they may have used their mobile, but they'll have been refining it all the way. So they'll have met new exhibitors, they'll have met new people, they'll have enjoyed different sessions, they'll have marked different speakers, and all of this evolves to come out at the end as their post-event actions. And there's nothing more important than that, to ensure that the value of attending that event is something that's well understood by the attendee themselves, and often, importantly, their management and people around them who have okayed for them to go to the event in the first place. So that's it. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions about this kind of thing, then you can get to our website. You can follow us on Twitter there too. But we'd be very happy to help, and do get in touch if any of that was interesting and you'd like to hear more.